How's it, guys? Thanks for joining in every week. Remember to like, share, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. We're going to have these conversations coming every week. Conversations with entrepreneurs that inspire and experts to admire. And today we got a special guest. He's been on before, last year before we took our break, and he's back again. Now, why I got TJ, in short, Taurai Jack, why I got him back is because things have slightly changed in his life. So we want to find out what's changed, why has it changed, what is he doing now, why? You understand? Because TJ, the last time we spoke, I'm going to say that him and his company, and they had over 200 properties, 300-400 student accommodation, and then things changed.
Yeah.
So he's going to tell us today why has it changed, and what do you do if things change in your life? How does that work? TJ, my
Yes,
brother,
sir.
what has changed? I think let's go straight into it. People know you.
Yeah.
We've talked about you before, so you don't have to tell us your deep story.
There's no deep story.
Deep sad story. I'm joking.
Yeah. So I think Leroy, what's very important is that we need to define what changes to start off with, because everybody's going through change, but it's about whether you are recognizing that you are changing yourself, or if you're not recognizing that, the world might make you to change, which is circumstantial, right? For some of your guests that know me, you would know that at one point I lost around about 5 million rand, and within that loss, I had to change.
Yeah.
So
You have a choice.
I didn't have it. Yes, sir. I didn't have a choice to change. But I needed to say, well, I've lost this money, but how best can I come around? So I had to change. And a lot of people then start to talk about, hey, you had to pivot. And during COVID, we had a lot of companies saying they're pivoting. I don't like using that word, because pivoting just basically means you're stopping and you're going the other direction.
Yeah. You're not dealing with...
As a person, you can't do that. Because the moment that you're changing, it basically means that you're utilizing the skill that you got whilst you lost, and now you can utilize that to go ahead into the future, and that skill and the history and everything else that you've learned can now help you. So I call it evolving. So as all individuals, we are always evolving. So you now have 2 kids, right? So at one point when you had 1 kid, you were just Leroy with 1 kid.
Yeah.
And you were learning to be a father of 1 kid, and a business, and managing your wife. The moment you had 2 kids, you didn't pivot. So like, now I need to manage 2 kids. No. You have evolved into it, right? So in my space, I'm always welcoming change. And I'm always looking to change.
But change can be painful, because you've been on this road, this is what you're used to, you get comfortable, you know what to do, and now you have to go this way, which means now you have to reevaluate, sit still with yourself, which is a difficult thing to do. I don't know, sit still, think, how did you let's say, then with the 5 million, and now, because this is now, the 5 million was a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
And then you are on a road, and now you are evolving again.
Yeah.
That process, once you decide that I'm going to evolve, or sometimes circumstances decides for you, what's that process? What do? Do you sit down on yourself? Do you sit down with your wife? Do you sit down with your coach? What do you do to say now, okay, I need to change, I need to go in a different direction?
So
how does that process work?
Yeah. There's no right or wrong process to it. But I do think that when you have realized that there is a big change that's coming in. So for instance, when I left employment and I was going into entrepreneurship, that was a big change. I had to engage my wife, and at the time, that's all I did. And then thereafter, we went into entrepreneurship. We lost money. I didn't lose money alone. I lost money with my wife. So again, I had to engage her. But now I needed to engage all the other stakeholders involved, the banks, the counselors, and now it's becoming heavy on you as an individual, so maybe you need prayer, and all those things. So there's lots of parties that could easily get involved in your journey, depending on whether you are wanting or you are opening to that. So my recent change, which is maybe the conversation that you say, TJ, let's have this conversation. You have left M5. What now?
Yeah.
And how can you leave M5 when you are M5?
Yeah. Why share that? That's a good. People in the property space, you are a celebrity.
Celebrity.
A local celebrity.
For Leroy. Yeah, so I think there's a number of things there, right? I am not M5. I think a lot of people have always seen me as M5, but I'm not. I've always had partners, and the partners were there. And there is a time when you actually need to move on. And moving on doesn't mean that something bad has happened. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not happy. But sometimes moving on could set you up for growth. Or it is a position where you're now saying, I almost want to use the word enough, or I've been nourished enough within this partnership. So how best can I now move forward? So as a business, M5 is still in existence. Rita is still running that. The strategy of the business has changed drastically. We used to do mixed-use buildings, a lot of low investments in your lower LSM, and the business is now going more into student accommodation.
I've noticed that.
And the brand of M5, it didn't represent student accommodation only. It represented a couple of things: investments, low LSM, and student accommodation. So we looked into that at one point, and we said, where does the business want to go? And the business direction changed. And as the business direction changed, I had to look at myself and say, do I still fit in here? And that's a re-evaluation. Unfortunately, a lot of us, we never do evaluation. We never sit down to say, where I am now, is this good for me? It might be good for me today, but is it good for me for where I'm going? Right.
For the vision, for the dream, or you see that you and your family.
100%. I had a lots of lessons here with M5, working with all my business partners, and there are certain things now that I am 100% sure that kind of a person, I don't want to work with them. So that's knowledge. That's now a new skill that I've now acquired. And now there's some other people that I'm like, that kind of a person I really want to work with. But am I going to work with them on a long term, on a short term? That's now a different conversation. Why do I want to work with them? Or they've got something that I want to learn. Or they've got something else, they think differently, and all of those things. So does it fit into what I'm wanting to change to be? And if the answer is yes, then the evolving start to come to play. So the process there is, number one, identifying whether you are changing. So that's the first part, right? So you have to identify it. If you're not able to identify it, then you can't put yourself in the process. Then number two, start to identify the immediate individuals that you actually need to have a conversation. For me, I'm a married guy, so the first person that I had to speak to is my wife. This is what happened. I am leaving M5. Why? These are the reasons. What next? These are the reasons. Hey, but M5 is the same business that was providing an income for us. So what next? This is how we're going to do it. Are you comfortable? So now in our household, we are now one team, right? So that's number one. But number two, maybe there are a lot of unknowns that I don't know at this junction. So I had to hire a business coach. Yeah, so I think the second thing now is when you don't know what you don't know, what is something that's coming up into the future. So you've made a decision of this is what I'm going to do. Like I'd made that decision, I engaged my wife, but there's lots of things that I don't know. And I think we're always talking about having coaches and things like that. Why would you want a coach? I engaged a business coach and I said to my business coach, I'm going through this transition. I want to go to do X on my own. And my business coach then said, but you've been playing with partners a lot, so let's assess where you are. And within that assessment, I then realized that, oh, I'm actually great in these skills, and I'm not great in these skills. And the journey that I've now taken in from that time is do more of the things that I already know and learn more of the things that I'm not good at. Because I want to be a rounded person at the end of the day, a rounded businessman. So
what's one thing that you're good at and one thing that you're not?
What is the one thing?
What's the one thing you think? I'm the best at this. If there's one thing that I should be doing, it's this one thing.
So I think
in business,
yeah. So I think I've always been. It's something that I didn't know that I had, but out of this exercise, I actually realized that I'm pretty good when it comes to being creative with my deals. So whether it's a business deal, whether it is a property deal, I'm always thinking the alternative. And maybe it comes from a background where, where I didn't have money and I'm always thinking how best can I do things. But that is the one thing. The other thing that is potentially that I'm very bad at is administration. So administration sucks and I hate doing it. But I've got a solution for it. So the solution is I've had to hire someone who's very good with administration. So now I think I put all of these things together, I create the deals, and then someone else, they put it on paper for me, and whether it's a presentation or whatnot, now I look good on both sides. And that's how it goes, right? So the process now, I've identified where I want to go. But now, how do you now move from where you are today to where you want to get to? And that steps now is me doing the work, right? It's not my coach. My coach has helped me in the process. And now I need to do the physical work of it. So every day I need to wake up. And when I wake up, just like anyone else who goes to work, I now need to put my own schedule together. What is Monday dedicated to? What is Tuesday dedicated to all the way to Friday? What's giving me money? Because remember, M5 was the business that was giving me money. So out of these 5 days is the 3 days generating me money. So that's what I need to focus on. And it's been great. So the journey has been great so far. But there's other things that has also come up, which is, I enjoy traveling. So I'm going to do that, a little bit of more of that. I've got more time now compared to when I was... More time? Yeah. So not all change is good. But in some cases, we all need, not in some cases, in all cases, change is, it's going to happen. It's either you choose for it to happen or the world is going to make you
become a victim.
100%. But now, when you say you become a victim, now a lot of us, when we are hit with change and then we become victims, we are the opposite of that other guy who actually saw the change coming and then they embraced it. So now you're a victim. So now your head is in the sand, and you are thinking, I'm the victim. I'm this. And time is going. On the other side, I have connected with my coach. I've got a good road plan. I am already starting to work with it. You are still in the sand. So now when it comes to results by the end of the year, who's a better person? I'm a better person. You're still sulking.
So what's the keys out there? So anticipate change. Change is coming. The world is changing. Everything is changing. You changing. Your wife is changing.
Everything
is changing. Your children is growing up. Everything is changing. So the thing is, sit and see where you are constantly. How often do you need to do this? Evaluate once a month, once a year, twice a year.
That's too often. So I've embarked on a journey with my business coach and some of my my clients that I also coach. We do this all the time. And basically what we do is that at the beginning of a year, of a quarter, we look into planning for the next quarter. So when we're talking about planning, number one, what are you wanting to achieve in monetary value? So you wanting to make 10 grand. Good. So that's a target, right? how are we going to make sure that you're going to get this 10 grand? There has to be steps towards it. Then we can actually plan on your profit and loss, and then we can see whether it is achievable. So which now means that once we are done with the planning, I can set you free to go and work. When you are now working, every month we are reassessing on the plan. But at the end of the quarter, now we can reassess again. Did we get to our 10 grand? Yes. If the answer is yes, we celebrate.
Yeah.
Right? Because we achieved the goal. Right? That's number one. Number two, then we also look at how did the 3 months go by? Was it easy for you? Was it difficult? Right? And if it was easy for you, can we turn it up a little bit? So that the next quarter, maybe we get to 15. Right? Or maybe now we can double it up. Right? If it was very difficult for you, what were the issues that made it to be difficult? Because that's what we need to address. And if we are to address that, it basically means that in the next quarter, you're not having these problems because we have solutioned them now, right? And potentially, you can still go ahead the 10 grand. So the reassessing that you're asking is, how often do you do it? At a tactical level, it's kind of like every day. At a strategic level, it is very much around every 3 months, but you're taking a dipstick almost every month, right? So it's like we decide, hey, we're going to go to Cairo, right? How often are we going to check that we are on the road? It's consistently.
Consistently, yeah, GPS.
Right?
Who left.
Yes. Because if we're not checking it consistently, we're going to get lost and detour, we end up in Luanda, right? So I think we may complicate things and say, how often should I be doing this? And then you write it down. Then when the time comes, no, it has to be seamless because you're consistently evolving and you're consistently on a journey. And within that journey, you need to be measuring every step. Because the moment you take the next and the next step, the first step might be painful.
Yeah.
But you now need to assess once you get to the second step, like, why was that step painful? Because if you leave it or you ignore it, by the time you get to 10 steps, now you can't walk. And
Now,
it derails the whole journey.
it's interesting because you're actually making me think about my life now. While you're talking, I'm actually
But
with few things.
But with that's we know that whenever me and you.
Yeah, I'm
engage,
thinking,
always
what am
make
I
you
good at? What's the one thing I'm good at? The admin thing is my one thing on that side too. But I'm starting to think, and I'm also in a place where life is changing.
Right.
A lot of things are changing. I think I'm in the same, you maybe have put it together and have more of a clear, but my life is also changing. So it's actually good we're talking about this today. So after this, I also need to think about, I have started thinking, but I need to be more clear and more, what's the other word you use?
It's intentional.
More intentional. That's the word I wanted to use.
So I think that in some of these things, we are just doing life, right? And we're just racing and we're doing what needs to be done to put food on the table.
Yeah.
But in some cases, I've actually realized that if I'm to stop and reassess and plan a little bit, where I was seeing that I can easily put one plate of Nando's on the table, with a proper plan, I can actually put 3 plates with the same time, with the same resources.
Yeah.
Because it's better planned, it's well executed, and I know exactly what I'm trying to do. And within that, now I don't have to go and change my world so much. I can just put more effort into the same process.
Yeah.
Now I'm beginning to optimize. And optimization just means that I know what my process is and I'm looking for the dead time in it. And within that, I can put more fire into it. Where I was getting in 1 hour 3 plates, now I'm getting 4. We all want more, but how do you get there? Establishing something, putting a process behind it, optimizing it, and the results should show. But our biggest challenge is that we don't measure. So measurement is something that is not there in our space. So we need to continuously be measuring. So I'm big on
measuring. You can't grow what you can't measure.
Right. So I'm big now for the last year and a half. I'm very big on measurements. Whatever I'm doing, If I got to you in an hour on the same road, can I get there in 30 minutes? How? Because there is someone else who's doing it. So I need to learn from that person,
Yeah.
right? And if I'm consistently measuring, then I can know my input and my output before I even do it.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer of what we're going to get. We already know it, but we don't measure. So
Yeah.
guess what? I've started measuring my wife in terms of how much she loves me. Like,
Is it?
today you didn't kiss me, an Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
Yeah,
You need to improve on that.
100%.
And you send it to her.
It's feedback.
They don't receive that well, eh?
Nobody receives that.
True. But now the emotion of this, because sometimes it's easy. Get a business coach, start measuring, put a plan together, and life is changing. The income comes from M5, no more income from N5.
Right.
Now you're on your own.
Right.
Me, myself, and I. No more partners, no more teams. Now you need to build a new team
Yeah.
by yourself. Now, obviously, you've learned all the skills, but what's the emotion? Because most of the things that hold us back is not the work, it's the emotions around, it's the fear. Sometimes something happens, you feel sorry for yourself. You understand? You feel sorry for yourself, or you're fearful, can I do this by myself? Someone always did this, now they're not there.
I think it's a number of things, Leroy.
How do you manage those emotions and still go in the direction full force without? You get what I'm saying?
I hear you. So I think it's a number of things, right? The first one is that as an individual, we all have emotions, and it's unfair for us not to observe them, right? I'm very fortunate that I've walked the journey of understanding my thoughts and the way I feel with John Keogh. You remember Robin Banks?
I remember Robin Banks.
Right, Robin Banks. They've got a program that helps you on how you think.
I haven't went on it, but I've heard him.
Right. So I've been on that journey for the last maybe 15 years or so. Right. So when you feel like that, you have to observe it. Because
How do you observe it? It's easy to observe it. What do you say? You say, okay, I'm feeling fearful.
Yes, you are.
Why am I feeling like this? It's because is that how you observe?
So observing basically means that you're acknowledging that you are afraid at a particular time. But why are you afraid?
And then the A, B, C, D, and then you say that's actually not a real. That actually doesn't matter.
Now you're coming into the process of solutioning it now, right? So you observe it, you recognize it, but now let's go into the solution. Is it real? No, it's not. Okay, but what is the real option? Option 1, 2, 3. Okay, I can do that. And then you move on, right? But a lot of us now, we get stuck in the fear part of it. And now we can't move. And now we can't even think of processes of moving onward. So I think for me, when I realized that I'm now on my own, yes, the emotions was there. I had an assistant. I had an assistant at work. I had a bigger team across the country. So now it's upon TJ, everything. And now this household that I've got is upon me and the missus, right? And I've built this thing. And I've left it now, but I'm now thinking maybe I should, maybe.
Yeah, should I go back?
Yeah, right? So the first thing is that you have to believe. If you believe
that you can do it.
Yes. If you believe that you can do it, you can do it. So that's the first thing. So changing how you believe or how you see yourself is very key. Then also, tapping into people that are around you can edify that belief. Because I remember when we announced that I was stepping down and things like that, lots of people called me and they said, TJ, wherever you're going, I want to come.
I'm coming with you.
I'm like, no. I'm not going anywhere. But as I journeyed, I then realized that, hold on. So all of these people, they were in the business because of this guy? So I didn't believe that in the beginning. So now I see it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, great. So it gives me a little bit of oomph,
Yeah, a bit of confidence.
right? But your confidence can last so long.
Yeah.
But what is it that I now need to do to make sure that my confidence keeps stuck?
Yeah.
So I now need to put in short wins along the way of what I'm going to be doing. That's what I'm not a big fan of big projects, because big projects they tend to, it's a very big thing, so you don't have short wins in between. If you miss it, the reason why I would want the smaller project is that it then builds up your confidence. Because you've started, you've finished it, and now like, yes, I can do it. What's the next one?
I'm
right?
thinking of scriptures now. You know what, first, before you go, the first scripture I'm thinking about, guys, there's going to be a lot of scriptures in here. Sometimes we might not phrase them correctly. We're not past this. But I'm thinking of my favorite scripture, Joshua 1. God comes to Joshua, he says, Joshua, he says, no. He says, Moses, my servant, is dead.
Right.
He says, now firstly, you were dependent on Moses. Moses was the leader.
Right.
Now Moses, my servant, is dead. Now go forth and take. So now that always, because that's a scripture that stands out for me to say, listen, now it's time for you to take the lead.
Yeah.
You had a backstop the whole time. Moses was there to guide you, but now Moses is dead. I'm thinking of you, M5, and now says, listen, M5, it's still going on.
Yeah.
But
in my space is dead. That's exactly
dead.
what you're saying.
Now go forth and take this land, take whatever he says after that. And then he goes, every place the soul of the foot shall tread upon that I give you know. You know the thing. So that was the scripture I was thinking about, because I read that one quite a lot when you think, hey, now it's time for you to take the lead.
Yeah.
You can't keep on depending on other people to guide you, to tell you to do this, do that, do that. You're the leader now.
I think as believers, we are here to create. And I think that a lot of us, we do not take on that that mandate very seriously. And because our world has also been very much around go to school, go to work, and a lot of people create in their business, in their employer space, right? I was creating amazing stuff when I was at the bank. I introduced internet banking to all the African countries.
Serious?
I introduced business banking to all the countries. I introduced the cell phone banking. I introduced the ATMs.
Okay.
I was that guy.
My man.
But it was not for me. The first time I engaged with my business coach, he says, what's yours? You're intelligent, brother. You are doing all of these things in Africa. But what's yours? That's when I started going into business. Because the intelligence is there, the skill is there, but I was doing it for the bank.
But there's no ownership.
Right. Now, the world is it's been designed that way. But as a believer, it is your responsibility to see that God has given me the ability to create, but what is it that I am creating? Because once you start creating it for yourself, remember you're a Christian, so you're also creating it for the kingdom. Because you're part of the kingdom.
Yeah.
And now God can give you more. So when we are now on this journey, and I want to say this out to you guys, like, it doesn't mean that when you are creating, it's going to be like so easy, manna from heaven. No. There's lots of challenges.
But it wasn't easy for anyone.
Yes.
No one. And no one. If you look at the successful guys, even no one had it easy.
But Leroy, I coach quite a lot of guys. The other day, me and you were exchanging notes about one of your clients that came in, and then they said they've left their job and now they're going to do this property thing. You're like, but how are you going to put food on the table? Because people now assume that once they get an idea,
it's going to happen overnight.
What they have is no longer enough or good enough. So now they're jumping onto this idea, and it's just going to work.
He wasn't my student, by the way. So.
Oh, okay. The guy that you met.
I tried to help him get back so he could get that job back.
Right. So whilst you are in this journey, there is things that you need to find out, that there is seasons I was in a season of M5, and that season dried up for me. But another season sprouted up. Now I need to move from this to here. But whilst I'm doing that, do I let go of this immediately? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Or maybe yes. Right? So for some people that are employed, you are jumping into property or into whatever business it is. You don't have to leave this.
It could be a 2 to 5 year plan.
Yes. Right? So it's a season.
Yeah.
You are in a season where you are in between. Right? And once this is now working to your ability and to the numbers that you're happy with, then you can live here. Right? And then again, when you get to this year, you then realize, oof, I now have 10 hours of my time. I'm working this business. What can I do? You get into another season. Oh, I want to travel. Or maybe I want to go and work at the SPCA.
Yeah.
Right? I've got a good friend of mine who just joined the church.
Yeah.
Right? He runs his business 2 days a week, and 3 days of the week he's at a local church. It's what he loves to do.
He's called to do.
Right. So it's all seasons. I've got another brother of mine who was in the church for 5 years.
Yeah.
And now he left to do his business. Again, that was another season. So changes will always be there. But we actually need to make sure that we are in control of the changes at around about 90%. But then there's COVID that's going to come and it will change everything else. But you need to dance with it again.
Yes.
Once you're
Interest rates go up.
Yes.
Things out of your control.
100%. So identifying the changes that you are wanting to impact on your own, because you have that ability and you can do it. Being prepared for the world is going to change. If it changes, what am I going to do? And then being aware that out of all of this, you still have God.
I'll never leave you. That's in the same.
So what is when you're planning all of this, because I think in the last couple of minutes I've been talking very much around you are in control, you're doing all of this. But you're not, God is.
Yes.
So whilst you're planning all of this, at some point, where do you leave the act of God to come in?
And surprise you.
Yes.
Because now we're just going.
You were going with your 10,000.
And what is
That's
it?
what you planned. God might just have a
Man
different
makes
plan.
his plans, but the Lord's plans, or as I said, we don't know where all these scriptures are. There's what? Give me that one.
No, I don't know it.
You don't know it?
Yeah.
Thought you read the Bible. But anyway,
I do. But I
man
don't
has
want
his
to put it
plans,
wrong.
but the Lord's plans always prevail. You know that scripture somewhere. I can't tell you exactly where it is. Man has his plans, but it's always the Lord's plans that
Prevail, yes.
prevail.
Yeah. And that, for
Tell
me,
us where that is. Comment section.
Yeah, and I think for me, as we journey in life, be in control of your life, forge ahead, work to your best ability, and then leave room for God to surprise you.
Amen.
Yeah.
My man.
Yeah.
TJ,
Yes, sir.
tell us, what's new? Where are the opportunities? People are listening here. Conversations with entrepreneurs that inspire and experts to admire. And people are looking they're looking for, as you say, things are changing, the world is changing, we're all changing. For some people it's difficult, for some people it's maybe not. Where are the opportunities now? Because now we've been talking about change, how to process it, the emotions around it. Someone is probably watching and saying, yeah, I'm also changing, I'm looking for an opportunity. What do I do? Where do I go? Eh? What do you see in the next year or two? Property-wise, business-wise, what are your where do you see the opportunities?
In the next 2 years to 5 years,
Yeah,
I don't see anything.
is it?
Yeah. I haven't been ordained to be a prophet yet. I
Is
can't
it?
see the future.
Okay, all right. So, right.
However, yeah, there's always opportunities. I get fascinated.
Property space.
Yeah, I think I get fascinated with people that are always want to tell the future. We don't know the future, but we can work to prepare into it.
Yeah.
And that's my happy space to have the conversation. We have always seen in our market in South Africa that we have a problem with certain areas of, let's talk property. We have certain issues that have always been there in the property space. Where there is the opportunity, one always needs to think about where is the problem. So because remember, business is all about solving a problem.
No problems, no profit.
Yeah, that's it, right? So what are the problems that you're seeing today? At the moment, we're beginning to see a lot of these smaller container homes that are being built instead of the RDP houses, right? That's solving a problem.
Yeah.
Can you jump into that? Because it's not a big thing yet, right? So can you jump into
nice these, eh?
Yes, they are.
They're beautiful.
And they are
And the financing is a bit of a challenge now. Because it's movable.
Yes.
Because it's movable, but beautiful.
Right. So that's number one. Number two, we've always had a crisis in student accommodation, right? If you are to look at it from a student accommodation, the bursaries are always for the poor, correct?
Yes.
And in the last 2 years, our economy has been hammered hard.
Yes.
So what does that mean? The economy has been hit hard, so it's down. So how many poor people do we now have? More. Did their kids die?
No.
Do they need to go to universities? So where's the opportunity?
But then the government nafsas, what do you how do you think that'll play out?
I think it's still there for a while.
I think it's there for a while.
Yeah.
They're just going to bail out nafsas every time. Do you think?
Of course. Yeah. Any government that is going to come. Remember, the government is for the people.
Yes.
Right. So they will always.
Supposed to.
Yes. So they will always want to do what is right for the people. Right. It might come in a different fashion.
Yeah.
But in my view, it will always be there. But having said that, it is also an opportunity for us to identify that at some point, what if the bursaries don't work? What do you do? Now you've got this building, 100 students. If the government stops, what are you going to do? It's another opportunity that you need to think about. It's a risk and an opportunity at the same time. So if the government stops, what are you going to do? You're going to go this way. Okay, but in the next 5 years, you're making this money.
Yeah.
So what do? Do you pay off the building? Or do you continue riding the interest rates? Right? As a clever investor, I would pay down.
Yeah.
So that when the interest either goes up or the government stops, I can put no more tenants and my building has been paid out.
Change it into young professionals.
100%. So the other opportunity that I also see is that in our country we have these big companies. There's a gap within the small mediums, right? And there's lots. I have seen guys that are pushing hard on the internet in the townships. I have seen guys that are going farming, right? I have seen guys that are doing farming products, what they're now calling from farm to fork.
Farm to fork.
Yes, sir.
What does fork mean? What's that?
Fork.
Farm to fork.
Yes, sir. Oh. So the meat is coming from the farm.
You said fork, like a knife and fork.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's...
Okay. So the meat is coming from the farm. The vegetables are coming from the farm. Bypass everybody else who's delivering straight into your kitchen.
Yeah. No pick and pay, no Woolworths, nothing.
You own your own customers. We have also seen quite a big spike on the internet. The results. So go and do a research on Takealot. Go and do a research. Amazon has just landed in the country, by the way, on the continent.
Yes, okay.
And these guys are coming in. They are seeing what we are not seeing. The internet is coming in hard. The online shopping has sprouted, right? So if you're not online today, that's where the market is going. And if it's going to go there, what are you doing to sell? These days, you don't even have to own some of these products once you're selling online. They call it drop shipping. So there's plenty of opportunities. But like I always say, Leroy, what is it that you are good at?
Passionate about.
Right now you're employed. So what is it that you're good at your employer? How can you turn it into money? That's level 1.
Yeah.
Level 2, get to replace your salary, right? And then think of how you can scale it. When you scale it, then think of the other option that you can do. If it is property, great. Do property whilst you're employed. Get to 10 properties that are giving you 5,000, that's 50,000 rand. And that's it.
Simple. Number 1, hope you guys were listening. Number 1 was what? Containers. Look into container housing. There's a guy that does it well in Kenton Park. This guy's name, Chicken. Andrew introduced us to them. Ooh, those containers look like high upmarket
They are.
flats, eh?
Because you can do anything. The design is amazing.
Yeah. The challenge was the funding of it. But I'm not sure
Yes.
right now. That was a few years ago. I'm not sure if they figured out
Not yet.
that by now.
Not yet.
And then the second one was what? Student accommodation.
Right.
Look into that. The third one was what? Farming.
Farming, yeah.
Farming. Yeah, from farming to the fork. Internet,
Yeah.
businesses, Amazon.
Yeah.
So TJ gave us some good
Dropshipping.
tips here.
Yeah.
Drop shipping.
Yeah.
So there's opportunity out there, guys. So instead of focusing on the issues, because we talk about load shedding, we talk about corruption, now it's double best. There's just so many.
Well, there's also a huge opportunity that has come with load shedding.
Yeah.
I recently converted my entire house now into solar.
Mm.
And the guy who sold me the thingy,
Mm.
the inverters and the solars, guess what? He imports everything from China.
Yeah.
And what he has just done is now he imports everything. He's got a warehouse. He sells it to you.
Mm.
He gives you an electrician. He certifies it. Sure.
Mm.
He makes his money. So I know that all of us may not have the money to go and import in China.
Yeah.
We might not have the option to go to China. But maybe you can actually start a business now and say, go to a guy like that. I was checking out on the internet the other day. The guys that are distributing inverters, they are looking for distributors,
Mm.
right? There are companies out there that have products, but they don't have salespeople.
Mm.
So you don't have to own a business.
Yeah.
You can always come in at the back of someone's business
Yeah.
and sell it,
Sell it.
and sell it hard,
Connect the two.
100%.
Probably call it back to back. Here you connect the customer to the product, go straight from him, you take what's in the middle.
100%.
My man.
And you start, I'm always fascinated. We want to start off with the big building.
Yeah.
We want to start off with a couple of millions,
Mm.
but nobody actually wants to start from one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there is no million without one.
Yes.
So you have to start with one,
Uh,
and then you grow from there. The beauty of starting off small is that you understand the process. When this thing becomes bigger,
mm.
the foundation is solid. But we miss that.
Yeah.
And for me, when I started off now going on my own, I had to go and look for someone else who has done it,
Mm.
who has built businesses on their own.
Yeah.
And I said, brother, I have built a couple of businesses with partners. I don't know how to do it on my own. I've got an idea. I can do it,
Yeah.
right? But how can you help me to navigate this? He says, great, no problem,
Mhm.
TJ. I'll hold your hand. Of course, I'm paying him for it, for the
Yeah.
services. And my journey has been faster compared to myself having
Having
to
to
do
figure it
it
out by
myself.
Mm.
Because I've got
Saves
someone
you
else.
years, eh?
Oh yeah, of course.
Saves you years.
Yeah. But it's up to you whether you are wanting to make that decision.
Yeah.
Right. So, or you can stay in your corner and figure it out yourself. And that's great too. There's no issues around that. But for a guy like me, I know that I come from a bad background. The education is not great. I am figuring a lot of things out. So I am always consistently looking for helpers. Helpers in books.
Mm.
I was sharing a good book with you
Yeah.
earlier on. Helpers in coaches.
Mm.
So I am learning all the time.
Yeah.
My day is dedicated to 2 hours of learning
Is
every
it?
day.
What do you learn? Do you read?
I dedicated.
Tell us what you do in the 2 hours. Give us a good book,
Yeah.
right? And TJ's an author as well. You want to tell us where we can get his books and where we can get hold of him?
Yeah, sure. So I've been reading the book at the moment. I'll share the book that I shared with you from great What is it called?
I don't know, I downloaded it. Great Choice.
Great by Choice.
Great
Yeah.
by Choice.
So the book is called Great by Choice. Jim Collins. It's an academic book where they've taken in a bunch of companies and they indicate why those companies have been great. Why am I learning about that? I'm about building businesses. So this research here, which has been turned into a book, is actually helping me into building my own business. But it's building me first before I can build other stuff. And for some of you who are wanting to grab any of my books, I've got 3 books now.
It's 3.
Yeah.
Last time you had 2. Or what was it? You had, what's the first one?
The first one is From Bad Debt to Property Mogul.
Okay.
The second one is Be the First Millionaire in Your Family.
Yeah.
And the third one now is Best Property Strategies That Work in South Africa.
My man. When do you get time to write these books, dude? 3 books. You know, that's so good. You know how cool is that, having a friend that wrote 3 books, eh? No, that's cool. Where do you meet people that where we come from, where do you know people that wrote not even one book?
It's the dedication, Leroy.
Yeah,
we all
so
have
praise the Lord,
we
eh?
all have the time and
3
we all
books,
have the
dude.
knowledge. It's just about blocking the time. That's all.
I've started writing a book. So
Yeah.
difficult, eh? Putting my thoughts on is one of the most difficult things that I've started doing, is writing it down and
Yeah.
thinking about, going back to, and thinking, I don't know, it's difficult for me.
The first one is always
It's
challenging,
very challenging.
but then second, third one becomes
I'm
easier.
doing it very slowly.
Yeah. I'm struggling though with my 4th one.
Yeah,
So I've been at it for the last 2 years, the 4th one.
yeah,
Yeah.
my man. Good. Thanks for joining us. That was
Awesome.
quite. I think TJ gave us a lot to think about, eh? You thought he was going to come talk about money. Yeah, there's a lot we need to think about.
There is. I think
All of us.
the good thing about all of this that we have spoken about, Leroy, is about at any given time in our life, we are faced with some changes that we are doing, intentionally or unintentionally, or the world is going to make us to change. So which one do you do? For me, I like the intentional one because it's not painful.
Yeah.
The one where the world is going to change for you, that's very painful because now it catches you with your pants down, you don't know what to do. And I want to highlight the one aspect. In South Africa, across the world, retrenchments are a big thing,
Yeah.
right? I've been hit with 3 retrenchments in my life. And those have been big life changes where your income is going to stop in the next 90 days. And you do not have any other form of income that you're thinking about. So for me, my life now has always been now more around, if the world is going to change, what's my backup plan? I should always have that.
Backup plan.
And that's it.
Yeah.
If you have a backup plan, life has become smoother. So at the moment, Leroy, if you had to lose your 3 big properties that you have right now, what's your backup plan? And that's what you need to think about. When you think about it, that's now how you navigate it. It's the same principle as an employee. If you had to lose that job, what are you going to do? But for you now, it's just bigger. Now you've got employees, you've got big, it's a bit more challenging in thought, but the principle is the same. Yeah.
Nah, man. Where do we get your 3 books? You told us about the 3 books. Where do we get it? Maybe you need to send us links so we can put it in the comment section so that people can get your books. Where do we find you? Where do we follow you?
Yeah, so the TJ tribe, that's where we're at. And in the tribe, it's just about individuals that are wanting to change their own narrative in terms of growth, building their own businesses. And that's where you can also get our books and all the resources that we have. And happy investing in yourself.
TJ, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
It's been
shared
great.
Great nuggets here. A
Oh,
lot
no.
to think about.
Yeah.
I've made notes and we'll get him back soon. Cheers, guys. Have a good day. God bless.